Welcome back to another episode of MotoGP Mac, and today we're going to talk about the race that just happened for the Grand Prix of the Americas at Cota. Now, before we get into it, here's how it finished. Pecco Bagnaia won it from Alex Marquez, Fabio Di Giannantonio, Franco Morbidelli, Jack Miller, Marco Bezzecchi, Enea Bastianini, Luca Marini, Aya Agura, Fabio Quartararo, Alex Rins, Raul Fernandez, Augusto Fernandez, Maverick Vinales, Lorenzo Savadori, Sam Kitchantra, and Johan Zarco was the last one classified. Firmin Aldegar crashed out. Brad Binder stopped in the last corner with a technical issue a couple of laps from the end. Marc Marquez did crash, remounted, and then retired to the pit lane. Joan Mir crashed again and retired to the pit lane. And Pedro Acosta, he also crashed and retired to the pit lane. So the race got off to a really confusing start with Marc Marquez about 2 minutes before the grid was set to be cleared, bolted to change the bikes that were there because the track, while it was wet, was also drying very quickly, and Marquez decided last minute to make a bolt. Other riders, including Pecco and them, did follow suit, and lo and behold, after a few minutes, or after a minute or so, it was more than 10 riders had left the grid to go change a bike. And therefore, the organisers did a restart rather than anything else. And I'll cover why that is in the podcast later on. But, you know, once the race got going, Pecco made an impressive start. So did Mark. And Mark, took the lead. And we were all kind of settling in for Mark to just drift off into the history books and cruise away until he did hit the curb, lost the front when he was trying to push the gap over 2 seconds and crashed. He did remount without a right foot peg. So look, he did some amazing, brilliant riding, actually, I will say. How he did it, I don't know. But look, he was falling backwards and eventually he had enough and went into the pits. On the start of the race, there was a good tussle between Pecco and Alex, with Pecco coming out on top after a few laps. Mark had already gone down the road while they were battling, so it looked as if they were battling just for second place of who would finish second. But Pecco obviously took over the lead at the start, or when Mark crashed, and he never looked threatened from Alex. Alex did start closing the gap towards the end, but Pecco was just managing out the race. Alex Marquez rode an absolutely brilliant race as well. He is definitely in tune with the GP24, and one of the things that we said is that if Alex was strong on that bike, then he's going to be strong all year. Cota is a bogey circuit for him, and he put in a really, really good performance. Fabio Di Giannantonio, first podium. Good enough race from him, to be honest. He didn't do anything major in the race, but he just held his position. Franco Morbidelli, really good race as well for Franco, solid. One of the standout riders today for me was Jack Miller. I thought he was going to go backwards, and to be fair, he was fading. Aldegar passed him with a couple of laps to go, but then threw it at the scenery, and Jack took back the position. Marco Bezzecchi had a really good race as well, up 7 spots from where he qualified. Another really big standout for me was Enea Bastianini. He did benefit from some pulling off and crashing and stuff like that. He was in around the top 10, but for me, it was a good ride out of him, finishing 7th. A couple of differences on his KTM compared to others. Luca Marini, again, top Honda, realistically, inside the top 10 on merit. Aya Agura, again, up 9 spots. Really, really good race. I would love to be inside in the Trackhouse Racing debriefs, if I'm very honest, to hear what Raul is saying about the bike compared to Aya Agura. Fabio Quartararo, kind of felt sorry for Fabio. He did fall off on the sighting lap out to the grid. He was on slicks and he crashed. but you know, he seemed to get pretty beaten up all through the race, and you could see like the Yamaha is extremely strong on the brakes, but it's weak everywhere else. Solid race from Alex Rins. You know, he was like 6 seconds or so behind Fabio, but again up 3 places. Raul Fernandez did gain 7 places, but still far behind his rookie teammate. Augusto Fernandez also made 7 places. Maverick Vinales had an absolute disaster. When the race was originally starting, he didn't have the bike on the grid. Then when he got the bike on the grid for the main proper start, stalled the bike and had to start from the pit lane. So definitely wasn't destined to get a nice result in Austin this weekend. Lorenzo Savadori gained 7 places. Again, look, people going out and crashing out and stuff like that. But, you know, he rode a fairly solid race, if I'm honest. Samkit Chantra, again, up 5 places. And Johan Zarco. For me, he was riding a brilliant race. I think he was up into 6th or 7th or maybe 8th place or something when he crashed. And when you consider it that he started in 15th place, he was the top Honda, and overall, you know, I was really, really impressed with him. Fermin Aldeguer was flying towards the end, and he was up into 5th place, which was actually a brilliant ride out of him. Like, if he finished, he definitely would have been the standout rider for me for the day. But he did crash, and that was the end of that. Brad Binder, as mentioned, pulled off towards the last corner with a couple of laps to go, what appeared to be a technical problem. Marc Marquez, as mentioned, you know, was flying, took too much curb. Remember, the curbs were still a little bit wet from the earlier raid, and he slid along the track, back across the track, and remounted. Joan Mir, again, look, unlucky to crash, but again, look, there's a lot of positives. He wasn't fighting down the back of the grid when he crashed. And Pedro Acosta, you know, same little mistakes of crashing, although I did note that both factory KTMs did get rid of the salad box for the main race. Overall, I thought, look, the race was pretty good. There was a little bit of excitement. You know, Alex Marquez has now taken over as championship leader by 1 point from Mark. You know, Pecco has gained 25 points back on Mark, so everything is closed back up in the championship again. Overall, look, I thought it was a really good race. You know, the championship is back on for everyone. And yeah, look, definitely enjoyed it. But I would definitely love to know your thoughts. What did you think of the race? Who was your standout rider of the day? Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll be back again tomorrow with another video.